Hi, Erick Schonfeld here with TechCrunch, and I'm with David Kirkpatrick at Techonomy.
It's a former and longtime colleague.
That's right. We used to work together.
We have some real adventures together.
We have some stories. Yeah. So, Techonomy, what are the main themes here that you're trying to get across with this conference?
Well, there's really one central theme, and the central theme is that technology as an instrument for progress is underappreciated, basically. And really, I think that's a very serious issue when you especially look at the business community with so many companies literally in jeopardy by, some kind of insurgent competition or a new business model, and even at the level of countries. Look, countries are coming down because of technology, and I think leaders in general are just blissfully unaware. And many more are going to go the way of Gaddafi in some fashion, hopefully not quite so brutally. But I think that's kind of the message, is that, and to put a positive spin on it, the idea is you can solve problems you never could imagine solving if you embrace technology more wholeheartedly. So why not just do it?
But what do you mean underappreciated? I mean, isn't technology sort of the bright spot in the economy, and hasn't it always been sort of held up as the panacea, even if it wasn't?
It was by people like you and me, yes. But I think you talk to your average CEO, talk to your average CEO of a Fortune 500 company, or your average CEO of a European giant global. A lot of these people are still not realizing the extent to which the empowerment of the individual, which to me is probably the single central transformational thing that's happening in the world, is changing what they do. It's going to change how every company markets, how it develops products, how it manages its people, how it hires. It is great. We love it. These great companies are coming out of nowhere and doing all kinds of miraculous things, and they're empowering people in all kinds of interesting ways, and we write about it and we get excited. But there's a little bit of a segregation that I feel, where we just take this stuff for granted, and a huge percentage of the world, and particularly business leaders and political leaders, are almost completely unaware.
What are the main questions and themes that you're going to hope to shine a light on here?
Well, I mean, we're going to shine a lot of light on this issue of empowerment. I mean, today it was almost people were complaining that we were too consistent. There were too many people who agreed that the world is becoming a empowered world for the people at the bottom, and that it's jeopardizing institutions of all kinds that are not moving rapidly enough. I think that will continue to be a big theme, and we certainly want to find ways. We want to talk about that. We got a whole block on this jobs thing, which you're a big part of tomorrow. That's going to be a big part. We're going to have more on how the political realm is going to potentially change. Craig Mundy is going to be here from Microsoft on Tuesday, and that's something he's on PCAST, the President's Council, and whatever, and for technology, and he's a big believer that technology could have a much bigger impact on economic growth, but that, again, in general, it isn't having that impact because, for example, in healthcare, where he says that you can basically prove that healthcare costs in the U.S. could go down by 1/3 if we sufficiently technologize things that we know how to do now. But the healthcare industry is just utterly resistant. So we're going to talk about that sort of resistance and how you overcome it. That's a big part of it.
So, last question.
We're also going to talk about privacy, and Andrew Keene, who's sitting over off the camera here.
He's a big privacy advocate.
He's going to be on a panel we're going to do tomorrow night, which you're going to be shouting at from the peanut gallery. And we're going to talk about, is this net stuff putting jeopardy to our common life? And what does it mean?
I can tell you the answer to that. No.
Well, I'm on your side on that, but I'm going to be.
You're always on my side.
I know. Well, we agree.
There's no controversy.
That's all right.
Last question here. I thought that your conversation with Jack Dorsey today was really great. And it was the first time that I think somebody got a halfway decent answer from him about what's the common ground between Twitter and Square.
Oh, really?
Which I think he's addressed in the past, but he hasn't really. I think he really put it in a great way. And I never really heard of Square described as a publishing medium.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. Did you buy that?
I'm still digesting it. I mean, Square is evolving very rapidly.
He's
This
saying
card case thing they have is a really new idea. I mean, they're really basically, they're kind of competing with Foursquare more than anybody. They're kind of like Foursquare plus transactions is kind of what they're doing.
Right. The receipt is the communication between the merchant and the.
I mean,
the
he
consumer.
could add Foursquare-esque functionality to that so that he's got all the merchant connectivity that Foursquare always had and bring the social on top of it. If I were him, I'd probably think about that. And you know, he's got a business model though, because he gets a cut, you know, of these transactions. That's a good business. You know, look at how big Visa is. You know, these things, these businesses that involve money are nice.
Well, it sounded to me that's how card case works. You sort of check in, and the merchant knows that.
It makes you buy something, and then Square gets a cut.
Right.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, I think it's good.
Do you think
Jack is no dummy?
What do you think is going to be a bigger company 5 or 10 years from now, Square or Twitter, in revenues?
Square.
Okay.
What do you think?
Square.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, and